Hey, read through the word. Today is July 6th, and today's lesson is called Slippery Slope. Yes, you're like, we're in the Psalms. What in the world does this have to do with anything? So, well, I'm glad you asked, because we're going to talk about everything. So here we are in Psalm, but we're like, okay, we're in the middle of all this stuff going on with Judah and Israel, and then Psalms. What the world? Okay, so we've already done our intro to the book of Psalms, but specifically today we have Psalm 1 and 2 that I'm going to treat together to talk about, and then specifically we're going to look at Psalm 1. So, let me read. Hold on. I've got a couple Bibles out today because we're going to look at some things. So, Psalm 1 says this. Oh, the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand around with sinners, or join in with mockers. But they delight in the law of the Lord, meditating on it day and night. So that's what we're looking at today. And then we're going to look at it in ESV as well. And talk about a few things. So think about Psalm 1 and 2 as an introduction to the book of Psalms. It is one idea expressed in two Psalms, basically. So, Psalm 1 is, first let's talk about why in the world are we talking about them right now? Because they're anonymous. We do not know who wrote these two. So, here they are. Here they are. So, Psalm 1 and 2 that we have. Psalm 1 is it focuses on the importance of the Word of God in life. Specifically, that's why I want to look at ESV, because I like the wording there. Specifically, what it looks like to live your life obeying and meditating on the Word of God. That the blessings that come from that, blessed, joy, happy, are all different translations, and we'll look at that. But then Psalm 2, if you read that, you'll see, wow, this sounds like it's about Jesus. It is. So you've got of what it looks like. What does the life, so let's take this to New Testament. Let's take it to us. What does the life of the Christian look like? Psalm 1 and 2. Obedience, meditating on the Word of God, and Jesus. Psalm 2 is all about the promised Messiah and what he will be like and what he will do. So that's our life. Psalm 1 and 2 is us. But there's our blessing there. We have this big blessing there. But it also gives us a big warning. And so I want to talk about the blessing and the warning seen in the first few verses of Psalm. Now, y'all know I teach middle school Bible. And Psalm 1, when we did the book of Psalms, Psalm 1 was a psalm I had to memorize. So it was one of those that I felt they needed to memorize. So let's take a look at, straight to it, Psalm 1. It says this. This is in ESV. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. Let's read the whole psalm. He's like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. Okay, let's talk about this. There are so many, and this is one of those that if we were together, we'd slap this up on these first two verses up on a whiteboard and go at it with some colored markers, because I want you to see some things. It says, so here's our blessing. So the NLT used "oh the joys." I think NIV uses "happy." So if one of y'all are using a different translation, let me know what Psalm 1:1, what that first verse says about blessed, because blessed really does mean happy. I mean, that's the best way to translate it. So if we're going for a word-for-word translation, we'd probably go blessed. But if you're going thoughts, and my guess is NIV probably uses happy. It might use blessed, though. I have to look that one up. Okay, so it says, blessed is the man who, what happens? What is the way of blessing? The way of blessing actually comes through the warning. So it gives us 3 things we should not do and 2 things we should to be the person that God calls blessed, happy, joyful. What does that look like? Now, here's where the slippery slope comes in. When I did this with my students, I told them, as I was helping them memorize, I said, I want you to see this in the actions that are given to us. So the first thing it says is, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked. Does not look for ungodly counsel, but walks. So first you have our warning. Blessed is the one who walks not in the counsel of the wicked. So you're walking. The next one says, nor stands in the way of the sinners. Nor sits in the seat of scoffers. Scoffers are scornful, mockers, people who make fun of. So you see that there's the slippery slope. First of all, we shouldn't just walk by. You shouldn't walk through in counsel. It shouldn't be the everyday portion of your life as you're moving along in life should not be put in the counsel of the wicked, the counsel of the ungodly, the counsel of advice of the wicked. That's what NLT says, the advice of the wicked. So you have this idea of walking, and all of a sudden, you stop and you stand. And now where are you standing? You're standing in the way of sinners. NLT says, or stand around with sinners. Just one thing walking by, and now you're standing around and hanging out with. Then it gets even worse, because you just grab a chair and sit down. And it says, or sits in the seat of scoffers. You see, there's that slope. You're walking, and all of a sudden you stop. You start paying attention to these people. Next thing you do, you pull out a chair and you hang out. And it's like, so there's a huge warning. Blessed, joyful, happy is the person who does not do these things. Well, if I'm not supposed to do those things, if I'm not supposed to walk not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers, if we're not doing that, what are we doing? Then this is what truly makes you blessed, happy, joy. This is what makes the life of the Christian work. His delight is in the law of the Lord, his word. And on his law, he meditates day and night. NLT says, but they delight in the law of the Lord, meditating on it day and night. And there's a few more verses that I'm going to put in your notes for you to look at to see this work together. So let's talk about this. Whose delight. My best friend, I'll talk about her all the time. One day I'll give you her name. But my best friend says this about the Word of God. She says this, that somewhere the Word of God, it's the duty for the Christian. But along the way, it switches from a duty to a delight. So many people who decide they're going to do what we're doing this year, or so many of you have done it for 10 and 15 years and even longer, read through the Word of God a year. And it is that walking daily in the Word of God. That's a hard thing. And for some people, and you might be one of those. Right now, this is a July lesson. You might be watching it in December. And that's okay. It's this, okay, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it done. And then one day it switches from a duty to a delight. And that's what it talks about, that your delight is in the Word of God, to come to know Him better so you can serve Him and show Him to a lost and dying world that needs to know Him. And not only is it your delight is in the Word of God, but on it you meditate day and night. Now, we've talked about this word meditate before. It does not mean what the world has made it to mean. This whole idea of and all that kind of stuff. No. It means to think on, to concentrate on, to guide, to pull your mind towards. So when your mind starts this walking in the counsel of the wicked, standing, sitting, your mind, you can quickly bring your mind and pull Word of God. How does this work? By not doing this. And we think we're these people with a checklist, and the Bible's a book of rules. There's some rules there, but most of it is to show us how to live a godly life. So there's some, don't do this, but there's a whole lot of this is what you need to do to help you live this life. And that's how this big book of worship with 150 worship songs in it, Psalms, starts off to show us how to live that life. And I hope and I pray for you that the Word of God has become a delight. And we'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.